Welcome to Where Parents Talk. My name is Lianne Castelino. Our guests today are multiple Olympic medalists. They play, coach, and are ambassadors for hockey in Canada, the United States, and beyond.
Once the captains of their respective Canadian and American national teams, Ouellette and Julie Chu are now behind the bench of the Concordia University women's hockey program, all while raising two young daughters. Ouellette and Julie join us from their home in Montreal. Welcome and thank you to you both for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
I wanted to start by asking each of you, when did you first know that you wanted to become parents?
I think for myself, I've always loved children. My mom babysat for kids growing up. We were surrounded by a lot of kids in our neighborhood, within our families. So from a young age, I was connected with young little kids and loved them. And so I think it was just kind of part of the progression, knowing that I wanted to be a mom one day. When that would be left to be seen, but from a young age, I for sure loved that connection.
How about you,
for
Ouellette?
me, I think for me also, I think my upbringing was so positive, and my parents were so wonderful to me, to my sister, that it's something that I also wanted to experience. But my youth or my teenager years were different than Julie, in the sense that I didn't have so much young cousins, or I didn't babysit. So it was very, very all new to me, and it was challenging at first to and I remember doubting myself if I would knew what to do and if I would become a good mom. But I think when it's your child, it's so different, and the bond is so special from the start that, and I had a great teacher that had many experience with young child, so we did well.
Yeah. And I can attest to that, because we would spend time with my family, and my sister has three children, and one of them was maybe a year and a half, 2 years old. So the first time I saw Carolyn carry him, it was a little bit like a sack of potatoes, kind of like this, legs dangling. But she got the hang of it really quickly. And the same thing, well, I know how to change a diaper. I said, after the first day where we have to do 10 of them, I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you learn quickly for sure. So on that note, I'm curious, what kind of research did each of you do, if any, prior to, going down this road of becoming parents?
Yeah, I think what's a little bit more challenging in some ways is just understanding the process for a gay couple. Like what are the options? What are the different possibilities between sperm donors to, IVF, regular insemination, whatever it might be, and every path and every decision is fine, and it's okay as long as it's a connected one with the couple and with their children ultimately. So I think that was part of the process. We had to research a little bit more. We were fortunate that we had friends that had gone through the process before, and varying kind of stages of needing to go IVF, just going more of a regular insemination. So there was a lot of spots of that we had to figure out, but there's a lot of support and love. And I think that's what we learned through the process. Is there was excitement that we wanted to take on this next step of our life, but also kind of the support to say, it's okay if you don't have all the answers. And Dr. Google is good and bad all in one. I'm just going to let that know on that one as well.
Sure. Ouellette, same question for you. I'm wondering, what were you most, anxious about, if anything, and what were you looking forward to most in that preparation phase before you became a mom?
Well, I think that the first part is, I think Julie and I were both very happy and thankful that we had been able to play hockey for so long. And we now knew that we were ready for that next chapter in our lives, and the most challenging yet, but we were also ready, excited, and looking forward to it. And I know for me, often I feel so thankful that, I'm in my early 40s, but you just look at gay women 10 years older, and they didn't have the same process that we had. They didn't have the same opportunities to become parents. And for us, as Julie said, like, we had friends that had gone through it. You can ask a ton of questions. You can ask, what went well, what is concerning, what is stressful, what's difficult. And I feel like that helped us prepare or know a little bit more what to expect. And when we went to our clinic, the Montreal Fertility Center here, is we just always felt welcome, not only by the staff, by the doctors, but even the patients that were there at the same time as ours. And I think that's really a testament to how much, as a Quebec population, we've grown to be accepting of everyone. I think, as Julie said, what matters when you want to have a child is that there is love, there is a strong bond between the two parents, and we definitely had that. I mean, we had been together for over 10 years when we started looking into becoming parents, and today it's much longer than that. Like, we're at 16 years, and
Oh, wow.
so I think we had experienced a lot of different things throughout our journey. I think it made our couple more solid and ready to face that exciting adventure.
What would you say has surprised you the most, each of you, about being parents that you absolutely didn't read anywhere, nobody told you, you didn't expect?
Just the worry, I would say, just from, like, I had the opportunity to carry first. So I carried our first child, Liv, and from the moment we knew she was there, I was worried. Is she okay? What am I seeing in the ultrasound? I cannot see what this is. I don't understand anything. All the tests you go through, I feel you just feel stressed. Is the baby okay? And then, am I doing the right things? Am I eating the right things? Am I sleeping enough? So, and I did not know or imagine that this gets 10 times worse when your baby arrives. That worrying, is she okay at night? Can you check on the baby? She's been sleeping for hours. Oh, she's been sleeping too long. Go check on her. It's just, and now they're moving, they're jumping. Every time they fall, I'm like, no. So I thought I was a tough and strong person, and I feel like I'm the mama bear of the two here.
Well, and I'm not going to talk to you about what happens when they become teens. I'll let you, I'll give you some time before we get into that. How about you, Julie?
Similar to Carolyn, especially in those first times when they're so little and they can't communicate and you're not sure. And yeah, we do read a lot nowadays with the social media or the internet at our fingertips. There's so much information, the good, the bad, and then the made up stuff too. And so it's filtering through that. So I think the worry is part of it, but I think as we transition to it also is just realizing how quickly they learn and grow and develop. Because I have 4 nieces and nephews, but even still, and I'd see them in patches and I saw them grow up, but not on a daily basis. And I wasn't there for all stages every day. But when you are as a parent, it's so cool. It's so special because suddenly you start to do what we call like go down memory lane, when you go through your photos and your phone, and then suddenly you're realizing, oh my goodness, our daughter day one was actually just a ball of goo or she was already doing this at this age, and I think that's what's really been fun, is just to see the development and the growth at their own pace and their own character and personality already coming out, whether they're 3.5 and our daughter Liv or 1 and our daughter Tessa.
So where would you put parenting on the scale of the many challenges that each of you as individuals and certainly as a couple has faced along your journey? Where does parenting rank in there?
I think it's the most challenging, but yet the most rewarding. Just seeing, unfortunately with the pandemic, it hasn't been the case yet with Tessa, but with Liv, like from the first week, she came everywhere with us. We brought her to the rink. I came back to finish the season when I gave birth with the Montreal Canadiens. She was at the rink. She was in the players' arms. She got to meet everyone. And I think it helped creating a really sociable kid. Like, she loves to talk to everyone. She gives hugs to everyone. And I think that was part of it. And I know that Julie and I were very proud that she can be with her Concordia Stingers players, follow them for warm up, jump with them, play with them, and that she has those incredible female role models to grow up looking up to. But certainly it is the greatest test to your couple as far as being patient, being there for one another, trying to find time for each other as a couple. I think that they become everything you think about, everything that you prepare. your days around. So it's just, it's difficult, but it is so amazing at the same time that for me, like, I really do feel like it's the most incredible achievement or that you can have in your life if you want children, of course.
It is absolutely a gift. Each of you was born and raised in very different, different countries, different cultures. Caroline, French Canadian, born and raised in Montreal. Julie, Asian American, born and raised in Connecticut. I wonder how you would describe your childhood, and I know that you alluded to that a little bit earlier, Caroline, but how would you describe your childhood, each of you, and in what ways did the way that you were raised, is that now impacting you as moms yourselves?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I really believe the environment we grow up in really influences us in a lot of ways. And maybe that's because I felt very fortunate and supported and loved and the different things I wanted to pursue, from being supported on the academic side in school, doing well and bringing home like probably the ugliest painting possible. And my parents thinking it was incredible. Although we just had that moment the other day where Liv painted this terribly ugly thing and we're like, oh, should we save it in the special box? And I'm like, we're that people already. But I think that really helped me understand how to support our daughters and support them individually as well as a family. I have 3 kids in my family, and I think that was really something my parents did an incredible job at, was to not only treat each other as a part of this greater family and we're connected as brothers and sisters, but more importantly, what does my brother Richard need to be successful? What does my sister Christina need to be successful? And same thing with myself. And I think that's what we're trying to do with our daughters, is to understand that each of them are going to go through things a little differently. We're going to do a lot of the similar, I think, approaches to both of them, but we also have to be creative and patient to figure out what's going to work and help our daughters develop into these awesome, confident, passionate, they're already passionate, I can say that, young girls to women to hopefully leaders later on in life.
Caroline, how about yourself in terms of your childhood and what you are doing from what you learned in your life as a parent now?
I would say that I have a very, precious to my heart relationship with each of my parents, and they're both very different. But my dad, looking back, was, I think, at first taken back with the fact that I was interested in sports, in all of them, in baseball and hockey and boxing. I used to pretend that I would box with him, and I think that for him, for some reason, it was more normal for a girl to play baseball at first. So we would play catch. He taught me how to play baseball. I played baseball from 7 years old until at 15 I moved to Team Quebec in fastball, and I played until well into my 20s. And I really have my dad to thank for that. But it did take me 2 years to convince him to let me play hockey. And my mom was a huge factor in allowing that by buying me my first pair of hockey skates. And my mom is just this incredible human being that loves and supports everyone. She honestly cheers just as loud for any of my teammates if they score than her own daughter. And I remember growing up, I would hear her voice just being there for all my teammates and myself. And I think that meant the world. I also learned from her that if someone is beautiful and you love them, you should tell them. And I think that's something that maybe sometimes we don't do enough, like letting people know we appreciate them, we're thankful for them. And I think that's really rubbed off to who I am and who I want to be. And my mom is absolutely incredible, and I'm so thankful for her, and to see her be with our daughters and how much she enjoys it now that she's retired. She was a nurse for over 30 years. I feel like now she's able to enjoy it and appreciate it because she has time to do so, and that's the most beautiful thing.
Well, and it's so wonderful to hear both of you talk about such positive childhood and upbringing, because obviously, we live in a world where we hear more of the opposite, but it sounds like you appreciated it back then, but even more so now as you try to raise your own children, it's such a gift to have had those role models as you have.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've really learned along the way, not only from our families, but being involved in sports and seeing what, in some ways, what parents do to sports in a negative way in times, because we talk a lot about youth sports and trying to get our younger children involved and excited and active and having a lifelong love of exercising and being out and about. But then now youth sports has also transformed itself into kind of a moneymaker to some extent. And then also parents wanting these dreams of going to play a professional sports or scholarships. And we're just gotta like reel it back and say, this is our daughter and our son, and they wanna pursue a sport, and let's let them have fun. Because they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever age, it doesn't matter. And I felt that when I was playing as a young girl in hockey, and there was no girls at the time playing boys hockey, I wasn't treated poorly by the other boys on the team. You know, occasionally you'll get a little joke here and there, but overall it wasn't much. But if there was anything negative, it was actually from parents or coaches of the other team. It was the adults that set the standard of how we treat each other and what, what hatred and what negativity we share. So I think that's our power as parents, as adults, and shaping our younger generation to being able to be more open and accepting. And I think that's how we feel in the environment we're trying to raise our daughters. And Carolyn runs a not-for-profit hockey celebration. And what was so special is that these young girls are so excited to be around us, to be around our daughter, and they don't even bat an eyelid that it's a gay couple with a daughter. They're like, oh, it's baby Liv, and it's Carolyn and Julie are together, and okay. And that wouldn't have been the case when we were growing up, because there weren't really as many role models or many people that were outwardly gay with families kind of in our everyday lives.
You know, it's such an important point that you made, Julie. And I wonder, the odds of you guys having an elite level athlete between the two of you and your two daughters is probably pretty high if you're playing the odds, right? What would you do differently than the hockey parents that, the breed of hockey parents that we hear about out there? And I certainly, I had 3 kids who played hockey as well and tried to always manage my emotions around that, but it's hard. So what would you do differently knowing that now it could potentially be your child on that ice?
Well, one thing we've already done is we've asked a couple of our friends to be our kind of our truth and honest people, that if we end up turning into crazy moms, hockey moms, or whatever sport our daughters want to pursue, to reel us back. I think we need to have that too. But I think the big part for us, because we do have that experience as coaches and seeing what that pressure from parents has done in a negative way, but also what is done in the very positive and enriching way. And so we've seen great examples of role models around us that have shown us ways that resonate with our younger generation to keep them in sports, and those that haven't. So hopefully we can really open our eyes and allow our young daughters to just love and be passionate about what they're doing, help to guide and support them as best we can. But make sure that if we're not coaching their young team, that the coaches are the coaches and we're the parents. I think that's what's really important, is if the safety of our daughters are taken care of and they're in a supported, loving environment, those are the coaches that are your coaches, and we're your parents to love you and say, did you have fun? Were you a great teammate? Okay, awesome. Let's go get ice cream for us. Thank you.
Caroline, I'm curious, how would you describe your parenting style?
Oh, wow. That's hard to be the judge of that. It's almost, I need Julie to.
Oh.
How would you describe my parenting style?
Mama bear? No, no, I think it's what's been really fun in our venture in parenthood, and especially as Carolyn had mentioned, that she hadn't come from being around a lot of young kids. So changing diapers, having, smaller, frailer babies in her arms wasn't normal, or not normal. She wasn't used to it. And so it's been really amazing just to see how quickly she caught on to those aspects, but just the love that she has. That's the only thing I can think of, is when she looks at our kids, it's like love, and sometimes like misty love, like the misty eyes. And it's so true. Like we always send each other pictures of our daughters, especially at times when we were traveling more. And obviously that's greatly reduced, but I think that's what I think about when I think about Carolyn, is the love that she shares with our daughters in every way that she has. And once in a while she's a big softie, and then once in a while she realizes, okay, I gotta bring it back, and and we're the moms here, which I don't think our 3.5-year-old knows sometimes. But if I say anything, it's just the love I see in her eyes when she looks at our children, and everything that she does from there is based off of that. And it's special to be a part of that. And it's great. It makes me want to go like snuggle my daughter right now.
Well, and it's interesting. Preparation, focus, consistency, certainly key to get to the level of the sport that you two did as individuals on your teams. And I wonder, in what ways did being elite level athletes, or just athletes in general, how has that impacted your role as parents?
I think, like, when I think about Julie, for example, as a parent, I think that she's amazing with setting a routine in place and being perseverant with that routine. Like, just when we went through the potty training phase, like, she was relentless.
Terrible.
But she was relentless with trying to set a routine. So Liv would understand that this is the way that we're doing it. You're old enough. You understand this is how adults do it. And I'm just, her patience and her love and her kindness to take our daughter, who didn't want anything to do with it at first, whether it was here or at the daycare. And I think that, eventually we got through it, and now it's just the easiest way. And I'm really thankful for that, because it applies to so many aspects of parenting. I feel we're more organized. We know our day is gonna be structured. We're both career women. We're very busy, so sometimes it is juggling a lot of different things with logistics, but it's going really, really well. We have great communication between us, and I think a lot of those skills were learned through sports, and being positive with everything that you experience, and seeing the good in every situation.
And I think to add on to that, one of the things is, as an elite athlete, we were in control of a lot of aspects. As Carolyn said, the routine and putting things into place. So we try to do that as parents, but we also were not in control of quite a few things as elite athletes as well. And as parents, there's probably even more things we aren't in control of when our daughters decide, no, that's just not it. Or, and I think that's one of the aspects that has been part of the challenges of being a parent, but also it allows us to draw on our athletic past, where we have to take that deep breath and basically go, okay, we just had 5 meltdowns in a span of 1 minute. We got this, and then try to reset, refocus, and also find a different way of approaching, as simple as, okay, how do I get my daughter to put on her jacket right now who refuses to? Okay, what is this going to look like? What's my technique? And that's what we needed to do as athletes. And that's what we need to do as coaches, is think on our feet, take a deep breath sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, because we do feel overwhelmed at times. These are parenting. We felt it as athletes, as student athletes, as coaches, and it's okay to be. And I think giving ourselves the okay to not always be on top of everything has helped us a lot too, and allowed us to then grow, because then the next day when it's a little smoother, we go, okay, this worked a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole new level of patience and psychology, right? That nobody really knows going in, and then you're in it. And it's like, oh, okay, pulling stuff out of your arsenal that you didn't think you had, right?
Absolutely.
Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to joke that some days we feel like so great about ourselves, like we're the parents of the year, and then other days we always say the kids are winning. So.
That's funny. Speaking of your days, what do you think makes it all come together? I mean, over the years, I've talked to parents, and one of the descriptions I was given, and it's quite visual, I find. It's like you get up every day and you're putting together a puzzle, and the pieces that you're putting together are never the same, but there's always something missing that you have to like rejig. So as a couple, as parents, you also work together. What allows all that to happen, and where do you find the balance? How do you go about achieving that?
Yeah, I think similar to what I was just saying, like some days it feels like we have our snorkel gear out and we're kind of like our heads are underwater and we're just trying to survive to some extent. And those are the days where exactly as you're saying, that it's like a puzzle and you're just trying to piece together all the things we need to accomplish, all the things we really would like to, and then once we're not worth it to fight. So it's okay. But I think that's what's part of it. It's being able to adjust, to adapt, to give ourselves a little bit of a break. But I think if we do have a plan of what we need to accomplish the next day and kind of our timing of it, then we can kind of figure out the rhythm of how to piece it all together in some ways, or how to make it all really fit. And I think that's something that we've really had to work hard at, and been able to get some great help, like between her mom and some of our friends, and being able to come and help us watch our children for a couple hours here and there, or being able to bring them to the rink. I think for us, that has been a really special aspect where we're able to combine our family with our hockey and our work experience and still be able to excel at both. And I also really think that it's awesome because we're giving our young student athletes the notion of you can be a mom if you want, and have a career and make it all work. And yes, sometimes it looks a little ugly and messy, but it can work. And I see our players' eyes light up. We see them be fine that we're doing a video session before a game and our daughter's like on one of our players' laps and they're all like, yeah, we're making this all work. And I think normalizing that, and also normalizing having to make some adjustments to make our family and our work life fit together, is how it's really come about for us to be able to make it happen.
Is there a parent, father or mother, who is an athlete, who inspires each of you in particular, and why is that?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if.
St. Pierre is a pretty amazing
Yes,
one.
Kim St. Pierre is a really good friend of mine, and I would say that around my friends group, she was the first one to go through maternity and having her two sons. And I remember that it was right after she retired from Team Canada, and she really had her son close together, and even a new dog at the time. So to me, she was really a superwoman, a super mom. And it's been so incredible to see Liam and Aiden grow up, and Kim is just the most incredible person, such a generous human being that across the board everyone loves. So being able to stay in touch with her, to ask her question, we've hung out together with Liv and our sons a few times, and I admire her because she was an elite athlete. She transitioned. She raised her two sons back to back in an incredible way, and now she's back working full time. She's in a field where she's inspired young kids to be active and to do sports. And to me, that's absolutely incredible. And I'm so proud of her. I think it was so well deserved when she made her entry into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she is amazing for sure. Last question for both of you. I'm wondering, are there any tips, strategies, lessons that you've learned now that you're both veteran parents in many ways, that you would share with other young families who maybe, and especially at this time of this, pandemic period where it's been so intense and a lot of people are really struggling? What kind of hope or tips that you've learned and that you employ yourselves could you offer to those families, to those moms and dads?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is in all of our wellness is to be okay with the chaos of our everyday lives sometimes. When things aren't going well, to know that it's okay. This is actually normal, and every single parent goes through this. So they're not alone. And I think that's what's important, because sometimes, especially as you said, in a pandemic, we're always wondering, is this how everyone else feels? Or is this how it's supposed to go? Or how do I whatever, accomplish these different aspects all together. And so I think knowing that we're not in it alone, because everyone goes through it, and sharing stories with others has really helped, because one, it actually makes us laugh about some of the things where maybe we were more frustrated about as a parent, because we had to pull on our patience and our juggling and trying to, you know, figure out how to win over this 3.5-year-old at bath time. But I would think that's a huge part, is having that patience with ourselves, know that we're going to make mistakes as parents, but if we are grounded within love and supporting and doing it as a team, and sharing with our children or our child the love that we have too and have for them unconditionally, it's going to go a long way, and everything is going to figure itself out. Whatever it looks like, it will work itself out. So that's my piece of advice.
I think it's, as Julie mentioned, it has been hard just the last year or so that we've experienced. And, you know, for Liv, she's at an age where she doesn't understand what's happening. Like, she doesn't understand why we have masks. When we go on walks, she naturally steps aside to let people walk by, but it doesn't bother her. She's just happy as can be. She's happy to go to the daycare to see her friends. She wants to play. She wants to live freely. And I think that as parents, we just need to be there to encourage her, to to check on her, to make sure that she's doing well, that she's having fun, to ask questions, so that if there is moments where she's not doing well, I think as she gets older, like many of our youth are experiencing, I think we need to be really strong allies with our children and really ask those hard questions, not assume they're doing well or because they're doing well in school, but are they feeling mentally? Are they doing with anxiety and all of that? So we should be in some ways the best friends right now, because they sometimes don't get to have that, because everything is so much online. So we don't have the same human connections that we're used to, that we love. And that's what's been very, very difficult. But we should at least have one another, and that should be the strongest bond.
Wow, great advice for sure. Thank you, Julie Chu and Castelino Ouellette, for taking the time to share part of your parenting journey with us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.